Welcome everyone to the newly updated JMC Live. We're actually doing this in my office, which is normally where we're at, but we have a new wonderful desk configuration, so I have more room to try and actually look at things, and I'm looking at a bigger screen to try and get all the information out for you guys. We are on air every Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We are JMC Live at www.jmclive.com. We have had a 2-week time off as Miranda is still recovering. For those of you who are wondering, I believe it's the 29th is when she's going up north to Mount Carmel's gastroenterologist. If I'm saying that wrong, do apologize. I can't say that word because it's horrible. But anyway, we're going to be going up there to get more testing for her and see exactly what's going on with her stomach. She's had a lot of issues, as you may well know, and it's taken, like I said, a lot out of her. And honestly, from a point of view where I'm coming from, I can see why things are not so easy for her. So we decided to take the few days off, take off last week, not have a show, and just go from there, because I just thought it would be a lot easier on her, a lot easier on me, to not have to deal with trying to focus too many things. She was very sick, been up several nights and at late hours, and I just was not able to maintain a set schedule of trying to have a show and trying to move in a different direction. But honestly, I think Miranda's doing a lot better based on how she's been acting this week. You know, she's been mostly on a liquid diet, kind of a hybrid liquid diet. She ate more food yesterday and today, and it's settling a lot better for her. So, without further ado, you have any words, Miranda? Welcome back, Miranda.
Yeah, I'm back.
You're back?
I'm back.
You gonna do any tricks for us or anything?
No.
No tricks. No, she doesn't have any tricks for us today, but hey, I guess that's the way it goes. But I thought I would cover a few breaking topics of the day, as you guys are more aware of, that we so love to do. Honestly, there's been so much going on between Italy and Japan and all the other different countries that are struggling with different financial situations. The tsunami is still affecting companies. Other things are going on. Now we have the NATO forces in East Tripoli, Libya. We also have more of the Casey Anthony being scheduled to be released very shortly, it looks like. I'm not quite certain on the time yet, which I think there's a big mass gathering, according to the Orlando Sentinel. A lot of crazy stuff's happening with that.
A lot of people are mad.
I know a lot of people, are, as Miranda said, are mad, you know.
And so am I.
She's not happy with it. Something a little more close to home. There's a 6.1 earthquake in Alaska. I don't know how much you guys have been following the things that are going on with the earthquakes. I've looked at NOAA's website earlier today, and they're not going to have a tsunami warning, so the whole West Coast isn't going to have to worry about anything like that. But the more pressing issue is what is going to happen with the United States and the, August 2nd? Cut off for the debt ceiling. As you know, Obama has walked out of the last meeting trying to mimic a Reagan's walkout of the Trevec walkout, where he left and did not get what he wanted. Well, this is going to continue to happen probably all the way up until August 2nd.
Well,
things will be threatened.
How much
and
debt,
I think they will.
How much more debt can we really afford to have?
I don't think we can afford a lot
I don't
more.
think so either.
The other thing is that, I don't know many of you that are going to California anytime soon. It's the 10-mile stretch of freeway for a 53-hour construction project. L.A. is Carmageddon. It's not fun. I've seen pictures of people, you know, that they got the little old granny on the motorcycle, on like the little walker, and she's moving faster than the traffic. And I've seen the little babies that crawl.
I've seen mostly empty.
This is jokes, but
I've seen mostly empty freeway. That's what I'm seeing. Nobody's on the freeway.
Well, the traffic that goes around it is supposed to double up. That's the biggest issue. that people are having. But anyway, it's something that is not going to be fun. It's not going to be the best, wonderful time of your life, if you want to call that. But in other big news, because I guess this is considered big news, especially for a woman.
That is big news. It's a big baby.
A big baby. I don't even have a comment for this that's appropriate, other than this is a really big baby. How big is this baby again?
It was 16 pounds. And when it was born, this baby boy, he was born 16 pounds, 16. And he was 2 feet tall.
Okay, let's do some math here.
Woo.
2 feet long is what? How many centimeters?
I guarantee they had to do a C-section.
I don't want to know. I don't know how that's even humanly possible to give birth to a baby. Yes, I've been forced to see that in home ec class.
Try carrying that poor woman who carried it.
Lots of pee breaks, maybe. I don't know.
I'd say her poor bladder and everything was smashed.
Everything was smashed.
It
was a smashing good
let's
time.
play the clip.
So she's going to play the clip. Here's the...
Here, you click, and you click the play button on it too, so...
Alright, here you go.
They say everything is bigger in Texas, and that certainly holds true for a baby boy born over the weekend. Michael Brown weighed in at 16 pounds, 1 ounce, and doctors say they suspected he would be big, just not that big. Michael, what was your reaction when you found out how big your son is and that he's broken the record for the hospital?
I was just amazed when he came out. I mean, how big it was.
That's right. He's 2 feet tall. You're 6'6", so you're a big guy already. He's 2 feet tall. His head measures at 15 inches. His chest 17 inches. I mean, are you thinking you might have a football player? Have you been wanting a football player in your family?
Yeah, maybe basketball player. I'm just proud of him. I'm just proud family.
Is it true that he's already outgrown all of his baby clothes?
A lot of the stuff that we bought him is too little.
Yeah.
So we have to exchange a lot of stuff.
And that was from NBC, or MSNBC.
Wow, big babies. My grandma talked about her grandmother or someone having 16 kids.
Well, I remember there was a lady that went to one of my family's churches, and when her baby was so big that the doctor actually had to push on her stomach to get the baby to go down and go out because the baby was so big. I don't think that would have worked. It said the kid's head was 15 inches. 15 inches. I mean,
that's
Lord.
Too much for me to...
That's a big melon.
Ow!
That hurts you, don't it?
Yes,
it hurts me.
No. I just can't. I can't.
But the father's 6'6", so think about that. He's already 2 feet tall, but he came out the womb. Wow.
Yeah, that's going to be a big baby. That's going to be crazy. I just don't... I don't want to know how you're going to do that. I want to know... Yeah, that's just really insane. And then on another note, I wanted to cover, here more local in Ohio, the Christian Post has posted, no pun intended on this, about Ohio lawmakers proposing a bill to defund Planned Parenthood. The conservatives that are out there that are jumping up and down for Planned Parenthood to be shut down because of the abortion are going to get a win possibly on this. The other thing that you have to be prepared for is not, I'm not going to talk about, well, who's going to get mad, who's not. Let's say that this does completely happen. What about the children and the young adults that still do not care about the risk that they take of unprotected sex, and they give birth to these several children that could be born throughout the year?
Well,
abortions every year is up to over 1 million. Now, in this state alone, it's quite high. It's almost in...
If they stop, the way things are going, if they completely stop abortions, people are still going to have abortions. They're going to go and have them no matter what. Side. They're going to do their own home-style abortions and possibly kill themselves.
Which involves like a coat hanger or something.
Turn them lots of children are going to be born and put up for adoption.
So, the people of the church need to prepare for what are you going to do with the mass, I'm not going to use the word exodus, but the mass exodus of Planned Parenthood, and because children and young adults that are promiscuous, they're not just going to have a light switch turn off and say, oh yeah, I might get pregnant, I better use a condom. They're probably just going to keep doing what they're doing. So you have to come up with a new plan of action on what you would personally do to assist these families. So the first layer, of course, is prayer. Your next layer is going to have to be an actual physical thing. There's things called like the Bethany House and like the Children of Hope and other things like that. Depending on where you live, there's these places for like alternative things to do. They talk about, you can have safe sex. They talk about wait till you get married and abstinence. But they also say, well, if you're going to have your child, let's put your child up for adoption. And let's put it in the foster care system. Or let's try and get them connected to someone who might want a child that might go to a church or something like that. So the issue is still going to need to be taken care of, which is providing for young mothers who aren't prepared. So either some of you might want to join the Big Sisters Club and prepare some of these young women who may have already had children or are thinking about it to either stop them, or if they've already had it, don't beat them over the head. Help them through it. Because the problem is, if you're stuck in the moral divide where it's like, no, 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 and you excommunicate all these people that do things wrong, then who's going to help them ever get on a track to hold down a job, pay their bills? These are the kinds of things you have to have. It's reality, basic sustenance for living. Which, that's what the Bible was supposed to be for us. So why aren't we walking in this to help people that are in this situation? Because right now, I can name at least 3 families that are in this town that I live that are in need of assistance, and they're not getting it. And they don't want to go to church because people have turned bad about them. And all they wanted to do is tell them how they were living in sin. And they wouldn't do anything to actually help them change. And that's the biggest key issue. Help them have a better life, regardless of what someone's done wrong. Because if you can help someone in their most dire need, regardless of how bad it is. A good example is what is that, Les Miserables, Jean Valjean, and he has that scene where he takes the silver and he gets arrested, and then they go back to the priest and say, here's your silver, priest. And they say, no, 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 no. Here's the rest of my silver. Well, here's an opportunity to help someone and give them a better life. Or we can sit here and keep having this big debate over abortion or non-abortion. Let's get to the root beyond this. How can we help people not have to have abortions and learn how to be abstinent, or how to get married, or how to find the right person,
or how to have self-control?
Or self-control.
I think that's the biggest thing, is self-control in today's society. Our society promotes, if it feels good, do it. Just do what you want. They promote like there's no consequences to anything. That's what TV and music and stuff in the world promotes. And there are consequences for every action.
Exactly.
And everything you do, good or bad, there's always consequences.
And then on another note, which is back to California again. Yeah. That is interesting, and I'm going to give an interesting take on this. I have ministry partners that have covered about what they'll call the gay agenda, and I understand this. They're allowing a gay history to be taught in California. So
they're requiring
it. They're teaching it in California. It's
Not
supposed
yet.
to be textbooks, history lessons on gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender Americans. Well, I understand you have to have this taught at some point. I'd say probably high school, maybe not. I know that if you go to our library at college, last month, right next to one of our rooms, you would have the book about the penguins, and you have the book about the boy who would go and wear mommy's underwear, and it was sitting right here in support of the gay pride thing.
These were children's books.
And these were children's books.
Little kids' books.
And I understand that those that are in this lifestyle say, well, when I was 5, when I was 8, when I was 12, this is when this hit me. So it is relative to people of that age. So if you are going to school in California, if you're going to have gay history taught, you also need to have the multiple path. Because the problem is there's two types of gay people. There's the one saying, I was born gay, I will always be gay, and there's no way I can change. Then there's another group of people that said, well, at some point I felt gay, or maybe I thought I was born gay, and I can change. The truth of the reality is, if you want to live in a Christian life, you could be gay, you could be straight, you could be bi, you could be a murderer, you could be a rapist. You could do all these different things because they all involve the word simply sin. It's just nothing new. That gay history, all you gotta do is look at the Roman times. It's in the Roman books. This isn't something new. But Americans, as we generally have, we have hidden the past from ever existing. Like, any of this stuff never existed. Like what happened in the Roman times and all that stuff, it just never happened. So if you're going to have something like this taught, you have to have the other side of the coin, which quite simply tells you that, yes, you're going to have this taught. Yes, you're going to have people like that. I have friends that are bi. I have friends that are gay and straight, lesbian, whatever you want to call them. But how do you cohabitate with people in the same room without upsetting them, without putting them in a situation where they are upset? Because the Bible is very clear. Don't do something to cause someone else to sin. Yes, there's many of the Christians I know that listen to this program will tell you right now, I don't want anything to do with gay. Well, gay is a sin. And sin lives within the hearts of every single man that lives on the earth. So you're going to have to live around someone who's gay. You're going to have to live around someone who looks at porn. You'll have to live around someone who cusses, someone who murders, someone who thieves and steals. You can't hide from the world. You have to learn to live in the world. And when these things pass, you can fight it. And when it doesn't pass, like this in California, you can continue to fight to stop it. But in the meantime, you also need to extend your hand to these people and say, I want to be your friend, I want to help you, I want to support you, and just because what you do is not going to stop me from trying to help you. And trying, like, are you going to tell me right now, if a gay person came to your door and they were homeless and they needed some food, and someone just shot them in the foot, you wouldn't call 911, you would just let them bleed to death on your front porch? I know people right now who would tell me, yes, I would, because they're gay. And you know what? That makes me sick to my stomach. Because that's not how God would want things done. And when I talk about these subjects, I talk about it in such a way to where people need to understand that we have to take the stand and say, yes, I believe that is one way. But at the same point, I'm going to make a difference and allow them to know that they are welcome around me. Because if you want to be like Jesus, he was accused of being around people that were different. Because the Christians of nowadays have placed themselves in a box and said that I'm so highly exalted amongst myself that I can't be around anyone that is different than me. I can't talk to those that think differently than me because I'm intimidated. To be honest, I don't know how to even stand up for my faith. That's what it comes down to. For the weak-minded Christians out there, you couldn't handle being around a gay person because you wouldn't know what to do. And that's what happens. We get so highly placed in ourselves that we can't move to a better location. We can't change to be who we are. I want you guys to pray for the prayer rally that's going to be happening in Texas. I know the atheist groups filed lawsuits against the governor, and that's coming up here shortly. That's just a quick snippet. I'm not really going to read it, but Rick Perry's wanting to have a prayer rally, and the Madison, Wisconsin Freedom from Religion Foundation says it's unconstitutional. So keep that in mind. But for those of you out there that know people that live a lifestyle that's differently than you, why don't you reach your hand out to them and find out that they're human beings and they're probably put in your life for a reason, not because you need to just necessarily in your own mind say, well, I need to get them saved. You can't get people saved if you don't help people where they're at. And I guarantee there's something more just as pressing that's going to happen to someone's life to get you to the point of that, because not everyone's going to sit here and take it and say, well, I believe homosexuality is a sin. It's like, well, more than likely a gay person will tell you that before you even open your mouth. They'll just know how you act. And if you can't even be in the same room with them, then how are you going to show them that there's anything different if they're completely petrified over who you are? Now, I don't know many of you who this spring or even this summer, my grandmother wrote a story when I was a kid. And it was about her watermelon patch. I don't have the story anymore, but what she would do, she'd get up at 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and she'd be like, get on her clothes, and she'd sneak downstairs, and she's like, I'm going to get me a watermelon. 5 o'clock in the morning, she'd go out in the field, and she'd keep walking and walking and walking, and she'd be like, she'd do the whole, you do the thumping thing when you find a watermelon?
No.
Well, in Texas, you thump them.
Okay.
And when they have that right, Brent's over here grinning, he knows, you hear that right little sound, you know it's ready.
Never was told that.
If it's like a more hard sound, it's more full because like it's really soft and it won't. So
okay,
she would thump it. She'd find the right one. She'd pick it up. And she's like 5, 6 years old. She'd throw it on the floor and she'd sit down there and eat right outside.
Wow.
5, 6 year old. She'd bring her little piece of salt with her too. Well, what if I told you lived in your house and you wanted to grow your own watermelon or what is it women like to grow?
It's a garden,
Tomatoes,
little garden.
Tomatoes, I don't know.
A vegetable garden.
A vegetable garden. What if I told you to go to jail for having a vegetable garden? Go to jail.
I found this. Someone shared this on Facebook. I said, this is getting ridiculous. In America, this poor woman in Oak Park, Michigan, she was, until today or yesterday. She was facing 93 days in jail because she planted a little vegetable garden in her front yard. The garden consists of... Oh, let me read. Sorry. Consists of 5 raised beds, garden beds. They're not even like just the whole ground's even been plowed. It's just little like flower beds for her garden. And she's growing squash, corn, tomatoes, flowers, and other veggies. She received a warning from the city telling her to remove the vegetable garden because it doesn't adhere to the city ordinance. When she refused, she was ticketed and charged with a misdemeanor. Her trial before a jury is set to begin on July 26. If she is found guilty, she can be sentenced up to 93 days in jail. Well, if she gets the same jury as Casey Anthony did, she'll be acquitted easily. So, we can only hope. So I'm reading this as if nothing's been done yet. So let's talk about the city ordinance. Supposedly, Bass is in the non-compliance with the city ordinance. The lady's last name is Bass or Bass. I would say Bass. It says she is in non-compliance with the city ordinance that states that only suitable, quote, suitable plant material is allowed on the lawn area of residences. When local media asked city planner Kevin Rolkowski, these people always have weird names. I can't say them. What that meant, he said suitable means common, quote, common. Lawn, nice shrubs, and flowers. However, the city ordinance does not specifically state that those are the only allowed plant materials. So, this poor woman, was facing a trial in front of a jury, possibly facing 93 days in jail, and because her story got out and been shared on the internet, across news stations across the U.S., the charges have now been dropped by the city of Oak Park, and here's the kicker, though. This is real funny. So this charge has been dropped against her. Her attorney went to the courthouse earlier today, which I think is today or yesterday. I'm thinking today. To file a motion to dismiss the charges and was told that the charges had already been dropped. However, the ordinance has not been changed and Mrs. Bass still has her garden. We'll be this article from Tree Huggers. I love it. I thought I would do like a green, I'd use the green website since it's all about wanting to be green and organic. But the funny thing is, so the charges have been dropped, but on another website, it was saying that now the city's trying to bring new charges against her about her dog. They're just trying to find things to stir up to still try to get this woman put in jail just because they have basically the city is mad at her. They've got a vendetta out against her. That's what they're saying, and they are wanting they're basically retaliating against her because her story got out there and people are supporting her. I think she's going to win. I mean, come on. Back in World War II, what was the government telling people? Grow victory gardens in your front yards. There are pictures all over the internet. If you look at victory gardens, World War II, people were growing bigger gardens than this poor woman was in their front yards. In subdivisions across the United States, they were growing gardens. What is wrong now? I'll tell you what's wrong now. Homeowners associations. That was the big thing.
Where you live too.
But Jeremy, there was nothing against having a little bit of vegetables in her front yard. They just don't like it. Somebody just got to burp their butt.
It's like living in apartment complexes where you can't have dogs. I mean, it depends on one person does
Jeremy,
something
there was nothing wrong. There was nothing in the ordinance. The city ordinance saying that she couldn't have any vegetables in her yard.
That's what I don't.
So how can you compare it to not having dogs?
Someone's either did something wrong in the past, or like she says, it's something that.
No, it's the homeowners association. If you live in a place where there's a homeowners association, they are your dictator. They think they're God, and I think. There's people not even allowed to put American flags in their front yard because a homeowner association will throw a fit.
Yeah, I think.
We've seen articles over the past year.
We've heard a lot, and it's got crazy. So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to take a break, and when we return, we'll have a lot more in store for you guys. So just stay put. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back, guys, to JMC Live. Lots more to cover, and we've already done 30 minutes, so this is actually going a lot faster than I thought it was going to go. What else to cover? I was just asked that. There are many things that I want to cover, and I don't have enough time to do it. One of the things that I wanted to cover, it is the summertime, and depending on where you live, if it's too hot for you, or you just got out of school, you graduated, you're going to have all these bills kicking in 6 months. Or if you're like a pastor, right now, an article in the Christian Post, and this is quite interesting going on, and I can probably explain this being a minister myself, but there are a lot of pastors that are facing burnout. Pastors, leaders. Have you ever heard who is supposed, like if you're pastor or you're minister, clergy, whatever you call it, who do they go to when they need someone to pray for them?
Or where do they go, or more, where do they go to church to get fed?
Yeah, where does your pastor go to get fed to hear a pastor preach to them? How often do you hear about this?
And it even goes even farther to the musicians that even play.
Musicians, yeah. It goes all the way up to teachers, anyone else like that. They're all being told, you got Sunday school every morning, you need to get a lesson ready, or if you're a band, like one of my friends, he spent a whole week in summer camp, and then you got to go and get 2 or 3 songs, per 4, 5, 6 times a week, blah, 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 this goes on. You're a pastor, you're going to have your sermon ready, you're going to have your series ready, then after that you're going to have these counseling. Where do they go? Well, depending on which organization or group you're involved in, your pastor may actually have a retreat that he goes along with, but more often than not, pastors and all ministry leaders need to have a break. We had a break last week. Most people don't get this break because there's not enough people in a lot of churches to where you can have a break.
That's true.
Or you're being placed too much on your shoulders, too much too soon. Mm-hmm. And this is why a lot of pastors and other people end up having affairs and other things, because there's not enough people watching. So You need to pray for your leaders, and you need to give them a break. And a lot of people don't want to give them a break because they don't want to, because the issue is either pay or something else. So I wanted to bring that up because of Miranda's sickness and everything going on. I believe in taking breaks and taking a lot of them. Like, for instance, tomorrow. Normally on Sundays, that's why the show is not uploaded, and we wait till Monday. I might do it, I might not. I have a lot of college, so that's keeping me busy from doing everything that I want. Miranda knows I have a whole
Sunday is day of rest.
of everything.
We don't do anything.
And that's what needs to happen with your leaders. I challenge you, when you go to your church or you see your friends or whatever, take them out to eat. You know, try and become friends with them and make certain that they're taken care of, because if they're not taken care of, you can't take care of more people. And if your brain is all over the place and you don't know what's going on, that's why so many people are having burnout, because everything is so bad right now.
Yeah.
There's so much financial struggle. Everyone needs help. Someone needs money. Someone needs this. They need food. They need a place to stay. And they do these things. And you go through all these government programs. They don't have anything left. And then you try and find people in the church. They don't have anything left. And then you find the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And it never stops. And it gets insane. Now, on a shift of subject, this is either a positive news.
It's positive.
/ negative, depending on how much your African history is going to kick in gear. And this will be quite interesting.
Well, I have been following...
Liberation of Southern Sudan.
Southern Sudan is officially its own country.
Civil War, which I don't know, I have a friend that went on missionary work in South Sudan, and most of them were being killed by a radical Muslim agenda, and it still happens in the South and the North. But it was kind of similar to what happened in South Africa with the multi-faction of people, and they were just having this big fighting. So they finally decided to split. I think this happened last Saturday. Honestly,
it happened last week.
Yeah, it was a Muslim majority in North and Christian and animist South Sudan. So,
well, can I say something? Because I've been following this. I know I've been following this. Watching the news, watching 700 Club talk about this, and I've even had dreams about the people there, and I've just really had a heart for them. And over 2 million people have died, have been murdered. 2 million people have been murdered because of the radicals in the north persecuting the Christians. The Sudan Christians. These men were so... The extremist men would go into the Christian villages and they would rape the women, murder the men, and murder babies. And if they didn't murder the women, they would cut off their breasts so that they could not feed their babies, and their babies would starve to death. They would burn the village. They would. I mean, it's so senseless. And I mean, it is. I'm happy they finally broke away. In my opinion, it's almost like North Korea and South Korea now, in a sense, if you think about it. I mean, they finally broke free. They've succeeded from Northern Sudan, and they are their own country. Hopefully things will get better for them, and they are out from under the Sharia law, finally.
Yeah, I think as this all started with Tunisia, if you followed it, from Tunisia all the way over to Egypt, all the way down even in the midst of South Africa, because everyone has been praising the apartheid after I went to South Africa. A lot of people noticed that destruction of people and property and things isn't always the best for your people. And I believe that this is actually an overcoming moment for a group of people. Yes, there's still going to be some radical destruction of people. Yes, it's going to take about 5 to 10 years for people to really agree on borders and monetary issues, and is this going to be better for the North or the South? We'll just have to see. It was the same argument about South Africa. Would it be better for them or not? And we'll have
And
to
it
see.
has been.
And it has been. I went there. I saw it. I remember the barbed wire and
You went a year after.
and everything else was happening. And it was utter chaos. And now things are getting better. Yes, they're having some issues, and so is Kenya and a few others. And there will be issues for the elections and things. But seeing the people making an agreement to stop fighting amongst each other is a step forward, regardless of what you believe. And for that in itself opens the door for more opportunities for people to hear the gospel, to live, to be able to eat, and to choose what you want to do on your everyday basis. Now, if we move over to Vietnam,
Mr. Harold Camping has really affected the world with that stupid prophecy, Rapture thing, prediction on May 21st.
Now, an executive director of ministry that works with a persecuted church in the northern Vietnam area says he believes that the prophecy by this guy cost the lives of the tribe of the Hmong people. As you know, the dude was 89, of Family Radio. He now had a stroke and he can't talk, and Family Radio is not here anymore. But in the sense of, it being what it was before. But the crazy thing is that these people found out about his teaching.
Can I just say it? You didn't read the article. Can I read it?
Go ahead.
Okay. So Mr. Harold Camping, has his radio show back in May and beginning of last year, and he kept saying, the world's going to come to an end, the rapture's going to happen, all the Christians are going to be raptured on May 21st. Well, somehow through radio frequencies, Christians in the Hmong tribe in Vietnam heard this. And they, on May 21st, went out in the open in their communist country that literally goes and shoots anybody who's worshiping anything that's not sanctioned by their communist government. So, the horrific aftermath of the unfulfilled prophecy was reported by James Jacob Prash, a key leader of Moriel Ministries, which emphasizes the last days apostasy, discussed in the Bible and ministers to persecuted church members. The organization describes itself as a teaching ministry to believers that brings awareness of issues such as the social gospel and ecumenical efforts that masquerade as Christianity. Prash routinely travels and meets with members of the Christian body worldwide. A recent trip took him to Vietnam, where a large group of the Hmong tribal peoples of the nation's Central Highlands are Christian. They are referred to as the Montagnards. They had heard of Camping's prophecy and, not having sophisticated methods or evaluating its validity, took it literally. The result for many was death. Prash reported in an email to supporters, after listening to the translation of Camping's prediction over radio, or somebody had told them about what Mr. Camping was saying, 7,000 of these people in the Hmong tribe gathered on a mountain, and they started praising God praising God, their suffering at the hands of the communist regime was about to end, because Jesus was returning that day in May to establish a new kingdom. So they're on a mountain, this tribe is on a mountain, and these 7,000 people are out there praising God, thanking God, because they believe Mr. Camping was right. The police and military police slaughtered many of them at gunpoint, beheaded 2 pastors. Others were arrested, I am told, Mr. Prash said, by Hmong pastors, that so many were shot dead that they were buried in mass graves. Bulldozed over in an episode that I read about in Britain, but did not understand the magnitude of until I got here. Prash reported that he spoke to a secret meeting of Hmong pastors to explain to them false prophets and false teachers.
Yeah, and due to a combination of the poverty, ignorance, and persecution, these poor Christians don't understand much, so they believed in his little radio shortwave broadcast, which is now most to get their teaching. Now their families don't know if their missing loved ones are among the many shot dead. Most of those are arrested and imprisoned are among those from the 7,000 hiding in the jungle. They go on to further say these people are suffering for their faith, and then these undeserving wackos in the West should have known camping was a crackpot. This is the persecuted church, but has no means to know any different. This is why you have to be careful about false prophets and everything. Honestly, I took over because I knew Miranda's getting upset about this, and she's crying, and it makes sense to cry because people need to realize the magnitude of what they're doing. When I was commissioned to do the whole prayer and take care of other people, I was told to learn the language, to learn about the culture, learn about their history, and then you bring forth the kingdom. And when you have something like this, when you tell someone it's the end of the world, we're all going to die on the 21st, and then you tell this in another country, especially something such as Vietnam. For those of you familiar with Vietnam and China and different places in the Middle East, and this goes beyond the typical what they call 1040 window, what happens is they'll take it either literal or they'll consider you crazy, and if you become a believer, you just have, like these books I give away, these Armed and Dangerous books I give away. If I sent one of these to Vietnam, I send one of these to China, the book will be confiscated, I could be fined, and whoever has this in their hand could be shot dead in the street. Right now today, not 18 million years ago, right now today. Why do we live in a world where people are still being persecuted for their beliefs?
And you know,
can have a violin.
Yeah.
In different places in China.
And you know, if you click on the link, this says read more. It gets even worse because Mr. Harold Camping says he has no responsibility. He's not. He can't be held responsible for anybody's lives that were lost because of his prediction. He's not responsible for the words that came out of his mouth.
And that's where it has to change, and people need to wake up and stop having this.
Yeah. Also, a girl in Russia killed herself, committed suicide. That was the first one we heard about. When she was so afraid of the world ending, she killed herself the day before, the 21st. Mm-hmm. Also, when Camping's expected rapture did not occur, International Business Times reported Lynn Benedetto of Antelope Valley, California, she slit the wrist and throat of her 2 daughters and then slit her own, claiming to prevent them from going through the tribulation on May 21st.
And you know, this is only the beginning. If it really is the end times and that finally happens, that's what people are going to do. They're going to go around doing crazy things.
But he is inciting chaos and fear.
You actually know that when there aren't any witnesses in Israel, you know, like throwing down some lightning and bringing people back from the dead or whatever, not seeing the reason why you know the end of the world, and people are going to hear about this stuff online, and they're going to hear about what's happening, and you sit here and you wonder, and you wait, watch, and wonder, and you're just setting people up for failure. This is another reason why you have to be careful what you believe, and you have to test what you believe, because when you don't, you end up putting yourself in some kind of weird situation like this. Because this could happen in America. And it did happen in America. Look how much money.
Why are you saying it didn't?
Because a lot of people are blind to the
guy did it.
How much millions of dollars was spent on advertising, billboards, and whatnot.
People spent their whole life savings to buy billboards.
They spent their children's money, etc., etc., etc. It went insane. I mean, I haven't had to pull out a Bible verse because everything was so explicitly generalized. It's like, I use Bible verses throughout all tonight's show, but I didn't give you the verses.
Don't have to.
I didn't have to go that far.
Because the story itself, it tells.
We pick stories where you should be able to find a common ground, a common sense, to where it's like, well, you know, what does this relate to in the Bible? Where does this relate to in our life? Because this is supposed to be a basic instruction, the coin phrase, basic instructions before leaving Earth. Well, what do you do after you get your basic stuff before leaving Earth? If you read the Bible all the way through, which a lot of you have, what's the next step? It's seeing these stories. It's dealing with the people that's in your life. dealing with the people that's in your family, and how do you live day to day. Truth isn't relative when you can have truth as a concrete truth and not an abstract truth, and you want to hold on to something and you don't have to waver. While culture will always change, God is always going to be the same. We're always going to continue to throw out things out there as shock and awe, and this guy's going to say the world's going to end. This girl's going to come out and say that she's Lady Baba, and this one's going to be Lady Gaga, and whatever. It's not new. Don't be so shocked and awe. How do you deal?
But the thing is, these Western Americans, these Western, these people from that were knowledgeable went over there and told these people that.
Yeah.
And give them false doctrine. And look, over 7,000 are either dead or in prison and possibly dead now.
Mm-hmm.
So not only does Harold Camping have the blood on his hands, but then those people that went told them that have their blood on their hands.
Yeah. And it just continues on in an ugly cycle. And this is why, for the end of the show, I want you guys to realize that no matter where you're at, people are watching you. They're watching what you say, they're watching what you look at, they're watching how you act, and being transparent is good. Admitting that you fall is hard, but you got to be careful who you say these things to. And when you do fall, sometimes you're going to have this big humble pie and move around it and try and overcome it, because your life can only be what you make of it. Yes, God is ultimately in charge, but you have free will to make your choices. And for the rest of the summer, I challenge you to learn more about your free will and learn more about the choices that you make for everything. Simple, like what are you going to eat today, to where are you going to go, to what money you're going to pay for school books, which we don't have any money because we're waiting on the bill thing to get paid, and that's a whole different story. Had to vent about that. But, yeah, the list goes on what can happen. And these are just a few stories that show you how the world is today. But I want you to know that no matter how dark these stories ever get, that's not how you have to be. You can be brighter than the most nastiest story I could ever find. And how do you overcome these situations, if you can? Or if something bad does happen, how do you help that person? That's what I want you to learn from these things. I don't want to shock and awe. I don't want to scare you. I want you to understand that God loves you, that no matter what happens, your life doesn't have to be the same. I'd like to thank you guys for coming. We should be on air next Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern. This has been JMC Live. God bless, and we'll see you soon.